Hello and welcome to another episode of the British Culture Podcast, where we talk about all things British. Okay, I'm joined here, of course, by Sam. How are you doing, Sam?
I'm doing great. Nothing to complain about. Thanks for asking.
If you do enjoy these podcasts with me and Sam, be sure to check out the series on EnglishSponge.com. Right now, there are 3 exclusive episodes only available on the website, and in the future, there will be more. So yeah, if you like this podcast, be sure to check out the rest of the episodes in the series on EnglishSponge.com. The topic of today's podcast is going to be transportation and getting around the UK. Like in the UK, how do people get around? How do people get about? Do people drive? Do they take the bus? Do they fly in the UK? That's what we're talking about today. Just how do people generally get around? And Sam, to be honest, my first question to you is pretty simple. It's just like, generally speaking, how do you usually get around? Obviously, you're living in Chile right now. You're not in the UK. But when you are living in the UK, how do you get about usually?
Car. And for most people in the UK, a car is an absolute necessity. London has an absolutely fantastic transport network. And for anybody living in London, I wouldn't say you need a car. But for anyone in a slightly more rural area, yeah, you need to take a car for absolutely everything. In fact, where I live, there is only one bus, and it comes twice a day, and it goes between 2 places. That's it. There is no other like public transport networks, nothing else connecting us to different areas. It's literally walk, drive, well, that's it, really, or order a taxi, I guess.
Yeah, you know what? I think my experience of getting around in the UK is a bit unusual. And that is because where I live, I am blessed to live 2 minutes away from the train station. So 2 minutes from where I live, there is a train that can take me to 3 major cities in the UK. I can go to London on this train. I can go to Oxford, and I can go to Reading, all right just outside my house.
Two major cities, James.
Well,
I'm not counting
because Reading's a town.
No,
of
I'm not
course.
counting Oxford as a major city.
Oh, Oxford is a major city. I mean, I know it's, I know it's pretty small, but no, it's definitely major in my book. I don't know how you define major city.
No, I'm only messing with James because Oxford and my football team, Reading, are rivals. They don't get along. So for me, Oxford, not a major city.
And the Oxford Football Stadium only has 3 sides. Mm-hmm. So that tells you everything you need to know about the Oxford football team. Anyways, so yeah, my situation is a bit unusual. I've always lived really close to the train station. But I think, yeah, probably most people are more like Sam, where public transport is a bit of a pain, right, to get anywhere. So yeah, that's probably for most people. Sam, let's start. You mentioned that you drive everywhere. Okay, so why don't we start by talking a bit about driving in the UK? Do you enjoy driving in this country? Is it better? Have you driven in other countries before? Like, what do you think of driving in the UK?
Ooh, what a question. Do I enjoy driving in the UK? Well, I enjoy driving in general. I drive a manual car. I've never driven an automatic. And I think that's why I enjoy driving so much. It's really nice to feel like you're connected with the car. You enter almost a flow state when you're driving. It's like you get to your destination and then you think, what? Did I just drive 25 minutes to get here? I don't remember that happening. So yeah, I do quite enjoy driving in the UK. Now, in the UK, people like to say that, you know, driving's really bad and everyone's like horrible on the roads with each other. But then as soon as you leave the UK, you really realise it's actually quite good. And people are typically quite respectful of each other on the roads. I've seen many countries with much, much worse driving conditions, even in Europe, not even looking further afield. So yeah, I think the overall driving experience in the UK is pretty good. We have a really good road network. They are relatively well looked after, lots of service stations, and it's a quick country to get around. You can go north to south in 10 hours, more or less.
Yeah, I was going to say that one of the first things I noticed, I actually lived away from the UK for a long time. I spent 2 years in Australia and I spent 2.5 years in Vietnam. One of the first things I noticed when I came home after being away for a long time was actually how polite people drive here. Like if you're waiting to cross the road, people actually stop and let you cross. Now, actually, in most countries, people, I don't know about most countries, but in a lot of the countries I've been to, cars just don't stop for you. They just drive right on by, and you have to kind of just run across the road as soon as there's a gap. I do think the drivers in this country are quite respectful and polite, although you only realize this when you leave the country. Right, because people do complain about drivers here, but I think they haven't been to other countries because it's definitely worse in places that I've been. One thing I will say is the roads here are pretty narrow and can be pretty sort of like windy and narrow in comparison to, say, the US, where they have these nice big wide roads. And so we have some of our country roads, by the way. If you ever go driving in Cornwall, for example, you have a tiny, like really narrow road and these big hedges on either side of the road, and you can't see really anything that is coming around the corner. I'll put a picture up here or video or something so you can see what I'm talking about, but it's pretty... people drive around those roads at like 60 miles an hour.
Yeah,
which is pretty scary.
What I want to add to that, James, just for the people listening, is that traffic goes both ways on these roads. And realistically, these roads are 1 car width wide. They are not 2. Traffic goes both ways. You often see really big vehicles like tractors or lorries driving down them when they probably shouldn't. And, as you alluded to, it is a 60-mile-an-hour speed limit. You would have to be mental to actually do 60 down these. You'd have to have a death wish, but people do. People do still do crazy speeds down them. When you show these roads to lots of people in bigger countries like America or Australia, they are often really shocked. And when you add the fact it's two-way drive and 60-mile-an-hour speed limits, they think it's an accident waiting to happen. But the truth is, I've never really seen any accidents down these places. It's actually quite rare, and it's almost because drivers are aware of the danger level, so they are way, way more attentive to everything. I often find driving down these roads at night time is actually way safer than driving during the day. Because when you're driving at night time, you can see the lights of the other cars. You can see the full beams coming towards you. Whereas in the daytime, you're actually a little bit more blind going around those corners.
Yeah, it's true. It's safer at night time. I do think that sometimes, although I don't know, I haven't really driven in other countries very much, but I do think some of the layouts of the roads are a little bit complicated in comparison to really the US. In the US and in Australia as well, they have a grid system, right, in the cities, and it's really just straight lines everywhere you go, more or less. But when you're in the city in the UK, it's not, because the cities were built such a long time ago. They are such old cities. We don't have a simple, clear layout of the city. So the roads are a little bit windy. There's lots of roundabouts, and things are just, I think, to me, a bit confusing sometimes about what's going on. I mean, a clear example of this is like the magic roundabout in Swindon. Right. I mean, in Swindon, there is something called the magic roundabout, which is basically one big roundabout surrounded by 5 mini roundabouts. And so I don't know who invented this or why, but it's probably the most complicated roundabout that exists probably in the world.
No,
That's the kind
I'm
of
going to
weird stuff.
say a
Yeah.
controversial opinion here, James. Sorry. Now,
Okay.
the magic roundabout looks confusing, and for any onlooker, it looks horrible. It looks like one of the worst experiences you could ever put yourself through in a vehicle. But when you actually use it, it does make more sense than you think, and it does actually flow relatively nicely from one roundabout into the next. It's definitely not beginner friendly. I would not go there whilst I was still learning to drive, but it does work, right? And I think it's overhated because of how it looks. Maybe you should do a video going there, visiting the magic roundabout, and unfortunately Swindon.
Swindon is not too far away, honestly. I could go to the magic roundabout. That is something that I will agree with, is that I do like the roundabout system. Like, I think, again, in the US, they tend to have junctions, right, with traffic lights. And the problem with this is that all the traffic has to stop. And quite often what happens in the US, I believe, is that people get hit by the side, right? When somebody jumps the red light and they drive through the red light, it can be quite dangerous because traffic are coming from two directions, and there has a lot of collisions at these junctions. Whereas the roundabouts, things don't have to stop. They can keep moving. Obviously, roundabouts exist in quite a few countries in Europe, I think, but I suppose probably in a lot of countries, roundabouts don't exist, I would say. Let's move on from talking about driving and let's talk about the trains, okay? So, Sam, what I think you just made a noise,
I did.
right? Tell me about your opinion on the trains in the UK.
I'm going to use political words. I'm going to try and be nice here, okay? They are the worst thing you ever use in your life, and I hate them with every part of me.
Right, well, that pretty much sums it up then. We can just move on.
No, the truth is, right, the trains in the UK are so expensive. Now, the train network is good. It connects all the major cities. You can get around pretty quickly. There's good ways to change and get to different places. But the issue is, I'd say, threefold. Firstly, strikes. Train drivers, rail operators, mechanics, absolutely everybody you could think of who could be working on a train line is on strike. And there's no like warning about it. You'll just show up one morning and it's, yeah, sorry, train strikes. So I think that is the first thing. Secondly, delays and cancellations. Oh, our trains are never on time. It is so bad. If you're just going into London for the day, it's not a big deal. But when you rely on that train, on that service to get you into work on time every single day, it is horrible. And I know so many people who have to deal with delayed, cancelled trains, regularly. It's not an uncommon occurrence. And finally, the price. The price for rail transport in the United Kingdom is astronomical. It is so expensive. I mean, James, I'm sure you remember when James and I did some filming a few weeks ago, we were looking at the price that it would cost James to go to London from close to where he lives. And it was something like £60 for a return, right?
Yeah.
And how long is the train journey each way?
Not that long. I mean, we weren't even going all the way to London, so it was about 35 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, something like that.
For me, to go into central London and back, a train journey of 15 minutes each way, it cost me £25, coming up to around $30. That's something that people have to do like every day. Like I said, the network's good, but our train companies were privatized a long time ago. So now it is private companies who own all of the train companies, not our government, which means our train fares are not subsidised like in other countries. Many countries experience really cheap rail travel, and it's absolutely amazing, it's incredible, and it's because the government subsidises it. For example, when I was living in Buenos Aires, to go from central Buenos Aires down to Zona Sur, to the south zone of province, or even further to another city down La Plata, about an hour each way, it would cost me less than $1. Less than $1 for 2 hours worth of train journey. Crazy.
Yeah, we are really getting ripped off by the train companies. We really are. Something that really infuriates me so much, something that really infuriates me is the way they change the price between peak time travel and off-peak travel. The prices during off-peak travel are quite expensive already, to be honest. But if you try to travel somewhere, like if you try to go to London during peak time, it costs so much money. It hurts. When you have to pay for that train ticket, it really is painful. You think, why does this cost so much? And I will tell you one thing that happened to me. I was actually teaching English in London. I had a job teaching English for about a month, living in London. And for my first 2 days, I needed to arrive at 9 a.m. That meant that I needed to travel from where I live to London during peak time, between 7:30 and 9 o'clock. The train journey cost me around £80 to get there. Bear in mind, it's a 45-minute journey, and it cost roughly 80 quid. 80 quid to get there. But that's not all. That's not all. I paid 80 quid to get there. And then when I got on the train, it was absolutely jam-packed with people and there were no seats available. So I had to stand up for the whole journey, but between loads of other people like this. And I'm thinking, I paid 80 quid for this and I can't even get a seat. I can't even sit down. I have to stand up in like the hot train. And I spend so much money. And ever since that time, I have just been so infuriated by the train system in the UK. And you know what? The government were talking recently about renationalizing the train system. That is something they have been talking about. And I hope that is what happens very soon.
I hope so as
so
well,
I need to
James,
calm down.
But I think it just means it will be the government robbing from us and not private companies. So, I don't think we get a better deal out of it. It is really disappointing. And I feel like the reason lots of British people are so upset and disappointed with the rail service is because it has so much potential. It could be one of the best things about the United Kingdom if rail travel was affordable. I mean, if rail travel was affordable, I would travel to so many different cities. I would go, all over the UK, exploring, checking different places out. But it costs an arm and a leg, even to go 50 miles, even to go one city over. So I just don't think it's worth it. And that's the reason why people in the UK, we complain so much about our rail service, because it has so much potential, but we're just not getting a very good product, especially not at the price point.
Yeah, and I would be happy paying this much money. I wouldn't be happy ever paying that much money, but I would maybe understand a bit more if the service was actually good. But the fact that you pay such a high price and you get delays and your train gets cancelled, it's like, what is this? What are we paying for? And you know what, Sam? I'm so angry right now just talking about this that I think we need to move on. Otherwise, this podcast will never end. I suppose there are lots of other types of transportation. I think maybe this is a bit of a strange one to mention, but what about flying? Sam, have you actually ever taken a flight, like a domestic flight within the UK before? Have you actually done that before?
Technically, yes, but you're not going to like the answer.
I don't know what technically
not,
yes
not
means.
in the UK, but in Great Britain. So I've flown to and from Gibraltar several times. That's technically still the UK. Well, technically still Great Britain, not the UK.
Is that a domestic flight? Because the plane actually leaves the country for quite a long time.
Well, then the same question would be, is flying to Alaska from America a domestic flight or not? Flying from one island to another a domestic flight or not? I know, to get back to the point, within the UK, because Gibraltar is part of Great Britain, within the UK, no, I have never. I really don't see the point.
Yeah, I think if you're traveling from London to Scotland, it's not a bad option, only because the train prices are so ridiculous to go up there. And I think in many cases, flying up there can actually be cheaper and probably a bit faster. But you're right, probably only if you were going to Scotland would be the only time you would fly anywhere. And that's because the UK is not really a big place, right? And it's quite funny. Well, it's not funny, but Americans are used to flying around. And when they come here, they are surprised that everything is so close. You know, you don't, and that's the thing with the UK is you never really have to travel a long distance. Everything is pretty close, right? I mean, if you're from anywhere in North or South America, if you're from Chile, for example, if you're from Argentina or Colombia, when you go from one city to another, I think it generally is a long way, right? It takes like 15 hours or something to get from one major city to another, like on a bus, on a windy road. But in the UK, generally your journeys are not very long.
So what you've said there was entirely my experience in Argentina. I remember I was speaking to someone once and we were speaking about, I don't know, either doing some hiking or like visiting another place or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. And they told me, oh yeah, this place is really close. So I looked at it on Google Maps and it was 4.5 hours away in the car. And I looked at them and I went, you told me it was really close. They're like, yeah, it is really close. Like, what the hell do you mean? It's 4.5 hours in the car each way. And they're like, Sam, in Argentina, that is really close. And I had to laugh because I was like, in England, you have covered like 2/3 of the country in that time. Anything like, in England, close is like 30 minutes. Really close is like 20 minutes. Long is like 2 hours plus. I would consider a 2-hour drive a long drive, you know, and other places don't have that same feeling.
I think something that's quite funny is when British people go to the US, some of them are just confused about how distances work in other countries. You will sometimes hear British tourists saying like, we're going to spend one day in New York and then we're going to drive over to LA and we'll spend a day there. And it's like that drive will take you like 3 days to travel. I don't know how long it would take to go from New York to LA, but I think probably 3-4 days at least, something like that.
So the last one I want to finish off with is the London Underground, James. Now, for this one, I don't want you to go in detail. I want 5 words to describe the London Underground.
Oh, 5 words? That's quite a tricky thing for
3
me.
words then.
3 words.
Is that better?
Yeah.
I thought I was giving you more options here, but clearly not. Okay, I would like 3 words to describe the London Underground.
3 words to describe the. I think I like it. It depends on day, but 3 words I would say. Convenient, well maintained.
There's a hyphen in there, so that's 1 word.
That's 1 word. Yeah. And the last word would be too hot. Hot.
Hot. Okay, fair. I'll give you hot. My 3 words would be seamless. It would be expensive. And finally, crazy. You see some really, really crazy things on the London Underground.
Yeah, it's true. Although having been to the subway in New York, it's really nothing
Oh,
in
yeah.
comparison to what you see in New York. But yes, you do have some weirdos on the tube. It's true. That's true.
Cool. Okay. So, as always, thank you so much for watching today's podcast, guys. As we mentioned before, if you enjoy the podcast and you want to see some more exclusive episodes, head on over to EnglishSponge.com. We already have 3 podcast episodes ready and waiting for you, and we're going to be releasing a new one every single week. So, really appreciate the support from you all. James, do you have anything to say to the lovely people?
No, just that yes, we have lots. We're going to have lots more episodes of the podcast on the website. So, yeah, if you enjoyed this, just go check it out. It's all on there.
Please also leave any topic suggestions down below. We read all of the comments, even if we can't reply to them all. So all of your support, all of your topic ideas are definitely considered. Thank you guys for watching. Bye-bye.